Seriously, almost an hour? Oh my, why did I do this so long? Okay. Recording now? Oh, crap. Uh, what if Dio returned in part 2? Begin. So, we start off part 2 in this alternative timeline in a similar way we start off to part 1. Dio is still underwater, and all that whole thing still happens. A bunch of fishermen find him 50 years later instead, and Dio makes his grand return. Now, the question is, what does Dio do? Well, at this point, what would he do? Well, I mean, the Pillarmen are kind of threats. Would he fight someone? I would assume he'd probably look for vengeance. He would probably be able to sense out Joseph, though. And I would assume he would return to figure out the Pillarmen were awake. So this would kind of be an interesting scenario. As for what Dio could do, maybe he encounters Joseph around the time, like, the two of them meet. Joseph could kind of tell him about the Pillarmen, and there's two scenarios to play out here. Scenario A, Dio teams up with Joseph to help fight the Pillarmen, or scenario 2, Dio just kills Joseph. I'm going to go with scenario 2. If this is like free Lisa, Dio destroys Joseph. But if we're going with the scenario where Lisa has trained Joseph, I would assume it's the opposite here. But anyway, kind of going off that idea, how would Dio do against other Pillarmen? Well, I mean, he'd absorb Joseph's blood. Would he awaken a stand of it? I'm going to say yes. If he didn't, Dio in like his weird high state might be able to beat Santana, but would probably still lose against the Pillarmen. So he awakens the world, and he's in his whole high state. Does he beat Santana? More than likely, yes. Time stop would probably be around 1 to 2 seconds, so I'd assume Dio would win that. What about the others? Wamu, AC/DC, and Cars. I'm gonna go with AC/DC first. And Dio would win. It'd kind of be a tough fight, but I'd assume Dio could probably finish the fight pretty easily. Now let's say he fights Wamu. Who wins? I would go with Wamu here. Range really matters in this kind of fight. But let's say Dio time stops and wins. What would come out of it? Well, just Dio doing the time stop would end up leading to him probably beating Wamu, but he'd have to do it very fast. Like, throw him somewhere to a point where there'd be no way for him to get him. Now let's do Dio vs. Cars. The final battle for the Redstone of Asia. Who wins? It honestly could depend on who gets it. I would give the advantage to Dio because of time stop, and if he gets it, Dio's the ultimate life form. If Cars gets it, he's the ultimate life form. Dio would destroy Cars if that's the case. And the conclusion would just lead to one of those two basically becoming the ultimate life form for the rest of the story. What would basically change the story? Well, Dio would just awaken heaven like his original plan, and that's all the changes there. As for changes for like part 3 through the other parts, I'm just going to use a part 3 image because this would kind of more affect part 3. What would happen if Dio lost against Joseph? Well, kind of like my What If Dio Was a Good Guy video. Jotaro would just live a normal life. Kakyoin and Avdol would probably be, and Polnareff would be connected on their own accord. And kind of be all of it. But let's say if Dio wins, now what comes out of it? Well, we'll go with two scenarios. Cars or Dio wins. Cars wins means he'd probably just accomplish the world whenever he wants. Would he find stand arrows? Probably. If he finds stand arrows, ultimate Cars with a stand would be cool. Dio would probably be the same. Would he still try to get heaven? More than likely, yes. I don't really think that would kind of happen. Like, he would probably still go after it. He may find it out a lot earlier, though, like in the late 60s, early 70s. So Dio more than likely achieves the world over heaven as the ultimate life form, thus making Dio the most overpowered character, not only in JoJo history, but anime history. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Goodbye.